Good.
Hello and welcome everybody to the first podcast by Ekalavyas. This is Vishnu, Ravi, Shankar. I have with me Himamshu, Dabir, and our first podcast is going to focus on the NBA playoffs.
So, thank you, Vishnu. Thanks, guys, for listening to us. So, in the first of many NBA playoff podcasts, we're going to start with previewing all the matchups. It's been a crazy regular season. And that's only going to get crazier now. I mean, a lot of casual basketball fans, at least in the States, this is when they actually start to become diehard fans and really pay attention to what's going on. So, I mean, you want to have any closing comments on the regular season before we get started with the playoffs?
Yeah, well, the regular season was crazy, like you said, and let's talk a bit about the potential MVP candidates. Who did your vote go to?
So my vote would be Steph Curry, hands down. I mean, LeBron took that hiatus, and he really hasn't been as dominant as he usually is. I mean, he could be. I think he's just kind of coasting. James Harden doesn't play defense. Doesn't get my vote at all.
One-way player, but yeah. But Steph has done some brilliant things. Of course, he's been the best player on the best team. He's had a great support cast, but then he's just done some things that you don't see. He's taken his game to another level. His shooting is just lights out. He bettered his record of most number of three-point field goals made from last season, this season. So he's only got himself to beat, and we'll see how it goes in the playoffs. But like they say, the regular season doesn't matter. The playoffs are here.
Yep.
Starting Saturday night US time, Sunday morning India time. And we're just going to walk you through. Let's start with the Wild Wild West.
All right, sounds good.
So the first matchup that we'll talk about is first and 8th seed, the Golden State Warriors, with that brilliant 67-15 record, and the upstart New Orleans Pelicans with the outlaw Anthony Davis.
Man, it's going to be fun to watch him in the next few years. He's going to turn out to be an absolute generational type talent. And honestly, I think this is going to be a pretty quick series. It's going to be over in 5. I'll give New Orleans one game that they'll steal because Anthony Davis will just go off.
Yeah, you probably get what, a 20-20?
Yeah, I mean, he's just, I mean, the thing Golden State doesn't really have, I mean, Bogut's a good defender, and so is Draymond Green, but I don't think either of them are really good. I mean, Draymond Green doesn't have the size to really handle him, and Bogut doesn't have the speed to handle Anthony Davis. I don't think anybody can really handle Anthony Davis right now in the league. So I think just one game, he himself will win for that team. And it's a building block for them. I think they're going to look at getting into the playoffs as a victory. So really just having them getting that experience on their belt. It's a really young team.
Young coach as well, Monty Williams.
Yeah, I mean, it's questionable whether there's rumors of whether he'll be back or not. But I mean, I guess this will be kind of a test for him as well.
Yeah. So even my prediction is smooth sailing for Golden State in this one. Probably 5, maybe 6 games. You never know. Mm-hmm. But first seed definitely going to sail through that round. Now talking about 2nd and 7th, James Harden and the Houston Rockets and the veteran Dallas Mavericks team.
So this entire podcast, I'm gonna come off as a Houston hater, but probably because I am. I just don't believe what they're doing can succeed in the playoffs. The whole Moneyball concept of basketball, while it needs to be viewed as a tool. I don't think that's the only way you approach building a team.
Wait, by Moneyball concept, what do you mean?
So Moneyball, the advanced stats, where the only things that matter are shooting threes and taking and getting free throws. Which, I mean, yes, those are the logical ways of scoring, or the best. I mean, you get more points and you get free points, so it makes sense. But you get more points for threes and you get free. I mean, it's easy shots for free throws. But in the playoffs, things change. Like Rick Carlisle is bound himself to steal a game or two. Just because he's probably, I got to put him up in top 2 or 3 coaches in the NBA right now.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And he had the championship caliber. Obviously, they won in 2011. Yeah. And that team with Nowitzki, Tyson Chandler, back in the Mavericks, the defensive presence is there. But what about the big story, Rajon Rondo?
I think Rondo's a playoff player. Man, I think he kind of coasts like a lot of those NBA players. They just, especially someone who's been to the finals so many times and been so successful in winning when he was with the Big Three in Boston. I think he's just going to end up he's just been coasting for the last few years. He was injured last year, and he's kind of coasting and feeling his way back. And I think he's going to step it up, and then he's going to be a force. This is why they traded for him. He's going to be a force, but at the end of the day, that Houston, I think, just may be too much for them. But I think it will be a series in a good one. I think it could go 6 or 7 even.
I don't know, because I would disagree with you on that. I think Dallas can definitely pull this off. Not to forget that, last year, they were the only team that gave the Spurs a serious challenge. They took them to 7 games in the first round.
Yeah.
And it's more or less the same core: Monte Harris, Nowitzki, Tyson Chandler. He's back now.
Bench is pretty much the same for the most part. A few different.
And I don't know about Dwight Howard and his capability of performing in the playoffs. I mean, he just doesn't seem like that that kind of guy. I mean, he doesn't have that killer instinct. But James Harden is definitely a guy to watch out for. So we'll see. I think it'll be Dallas in 7.
I think Dallas in 7. That's the first upset right there.
The first upset. Yeah.
2 beat and 2 losing to a 7. I mean, Dallas's Nowitzki's unpredictable, man. I mean, their coach, Carlisle, all of them as a team, he knows how to build them as a team. So he's going to have them working. And, I mean, who knows? I think it's going to be close, but I think Houston pulls it off. If they don't, it is a failure for them, honestly. It's a big, big fail.
Okay, the next matchup between the 3rd seed Clippers, the Wild Bunch, and the veterans, the San Antonio Spurs, defending champs. So what's your take on this one?
I gotta go San Antonio. It's gonna be. I think it'll be a tough one, but I think San Antonio pulls it out. I mean, you just never. I cannot bet against them until they lose.
Yeah.
They've been doing. Go ahead.
They've been sort of resurgent towards the end of the season. I think they went on a 10-game win streak.
Yeah, 11
11-game win streak and Kawhi is just he's in form right now. So yeah, with those long hands and on defense, I mean, he's just crazy. And he's got the green light now. Also, Pop has told him that it's your team. It's not Manu's team or Timmy's team. It's your team. So. We'll see. I mean, you can't obviously underestimate the big 3.
No.
Tim, Tony, and Manu.
And I think they just have that mental toughness that the Clippers don't really have yet.
And the Clippers haven't been beyond the semifinals, really.
No. And I mean, every time they've kind of folded in every playoff series. But again, that was with Vin Del Negro. Only last year did they really have a strong championship caliber coach. So
is this the year?
Nah, I don't think so. I just don't. Chris Paul's never gotten out of the conference finals either. So for everyone kind of chastises Melo a lot for not being a winner, but Chris Paul really is in that same boat. They've each been to the conference finals once, and really, other than that, just been stuck in the first or second round their entire careers. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a big challenge for him, and he's going to kind of have to quiet some critics. I mean, Blake's in the same boat, but he's not. I mean, he's still a pretty young player relative to Chris Paul, who's I believe almost 30 now.
Yeah, he's 30.
Yeah. So it'll be that may be the funnest matchup in the first round in terms of the style of play and everything.
Because it's sort of the young guys versus the old guys.
Yeah.
So the athletic guys versus the slower, wiser guys. So
the thing with back in when when the Thunder were healthy, was it 2-3 years ago? Every time they played the Spurs, they would get the better of them because of their athleticism. So athleticism has hurt the Spurs before in past years. Mm-hmm. And this is another athletic team. Granted, their big guys are athletic versus more of it's just Russell Westbrook's ridiculous athleticism for the Thunder. So we'll see. It'd be fun to watch Timmy Duncan going against those guys.
Yeah. I say Spurs in 6 or 7.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Spurs in 7.
Spurs in 7. That'll be fun to watch. The last matchup in the West is the 4th and 5th seeds, Portland Trailblazers and the Memphis Grizzlies. This will be a fun matchup, but I think Memphis is just going to overpower them.
So Memphis is my favorite team in the West. Personal favorite, as a fan. I love the style of play that they have where they just beat the crap out of teams physically. And I think it's just going to wear down Portland, who doesn't really have that many big men. I mean, LaMarcus Aldridge is there. Robin Lopez is back, I believe, from injury, and he should be playing. But the rest of their team is pretty injury-riddled. losing Wesley Matthews hurts a lot during the regular season, and I think he would have been a huge contributor in this, especially since he could kind of exploit that team a little bit out of the 2-guard spot. And I think Memphis, with the addition of Jeff Green, it hasn't worked so well in the regular season, but I think it will start to gel in the playoffs.
Yeah. And that grit and grind mentality, so it'll be fun to watch. The other player who's injured for the Trailblazers is Aaron Aflalo.
Yeah, but I thought he's coming back, though.
He's coming back?
Yeah, they said by playoffs he should be ready to roll.
Okay.
Yeah, so but again, that's your two guards.
Yeah.
Even if, Matthews has been gone for a while, so they've probably learned to adjust on the fly a little bit. Yeah. But if Aflalo is gone as well, then they're really hurting. And more of that scoring load from the guard position is going to go on Lillard, who's unbelievable in late games. He's bound to have one game winner in the series at some point.
Well, our columnist Karan Madhok said that he won't repeat last year's heroics. That was his prediction.
But you can't. We're not going to repeat that. But he's good for one. He had 3 last year, 2 or 3 last year. That was out of control. Yeah. He's so much fun to watch towards the end of games. Even if he's had a terrible 3.5 quarters, that last 5-7 minutes, he's just his eyes get wide and he's gonna come out firing.
Yeah. And the other All-Star, Marcus Aldridge. You can never count him on. He's fundamentally stuff.
He killed it last year, first playoffs last year, I believe, and he had 2 40-point games right off the bat. Yeah. Kept him in that series, and he's injured. He's got a broken hand now. He's been playing all year with a broken hand, so you can't count them out. But at the end of the day, I think physically, having LaMarcus Aldridge go against Marc Gasol, who was last year's Defensive Player of the Year, and Zebo on a regular basis, then you got a couple guys off the bench.
How does Zebo do it? He just he doesn't seem to have much of a jump.
No. He doesn't have any of a jump.
He's just so smooth. He's just so silky, and he just has that quick release, right? So.
I think he just learned that he from a kid he realized I'm too big. I'm not going to be able to jump. I got to find ways to get off my shot, and so he uses his body brilliantly and the rim to help not get his shot blocked.
Yeah, create space, and even his offensive rebounding, I don't know how he does it. He just gets into those positions.
He's a big dude. He's tough. It's boxing out, man.
Yeah.
And with Michigan State product right there. That's what Tom Izzo from Michigan State's an NCAA team. That's what they teach is defense, toughness, and rebounding. And he emphasized that he is exactly that type of player.
Yeah. So Memphis, I think Memphis as well. So
I'm thinking Memphis in 6. I think it won't be. Portland will win a game or 2, but I think by the end Memphis will take it in a little easier fashion than some of the other matchups.
I agree with you. That sort of rounds up the West. We won't talk much about the semi-final lineup right now.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Whenever that happens, we'll see if our predictions are correct or wrong. But let's move on to the lesser conference, the Eastern Conference.
Anytime you have 2 or 3 teams that are in there without below 500, then it is the lesser conference or Eastern Conference.
So the Nets managed to sneak in on the final day of the regular season, and they'll be facing the surprise of the season, the Atlanta Hawks. They went on. They had an amazing beginning of the season, sort of a bumpy road in between, but then they're okay now, and they managed to win, I think, 60 or 60 plus games.
60 and 22.
Yeah.
They're like the Spurs of the East. They're trying to mimic that idea of everybody. No real. Tim Duncan's a superstar, so is Tony Parker. But now, at their older age, they've all kind of realized that it's a team. It's a team achievement. It's not going to be any individuals. So they've kind of taken that idea and. Makes sense because the coach was an assistant for Popovich for so long.
Mike Gordon also.
Yeah. So I just don't see the Nets putting up a fight. I think it's going to be a quick one, and it's.
Well, yeah, probably a whitewash. I think a clean sweep.
Yeah.
But you never know. Maybe Paul Pierce will do something.
Paul Pierce is with the Wizards now.
Oh yeah.
That's something else we're going to get to because he was talking some trash earlier this week.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Brooklyn. Last year. He was their main guy when they beat Toronto. He was like the vocal leader. He was kind of the heart of that team. now it's Joe Johnson, who's a good player but a very quiet person and not very emotional. And sometimes having that emotion will really help them get through maybe a bad run or a tough game. So, I mean, where are they going to get that leadership from?
Yeah, they'll probably win one game.
You're guessing one. I'm thinking it's clean sweep here.
Clean sweep or the Hawks in 5. They're too safe, by the way. And I just want to see if Culver does something like magical in one game, like some 10 3-pointers, or like I don't know. It could be crazy.
I think he's gonna be he's obviously a huge part of what they do. So it'll be fun. But the thing that's gonna hurt them long run is Debo Shefalosa. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but he broke his fibula getting beaten up by the NYPD.
No, I didn't know that was Aaron Apollo.
No. It was Cephalosa.
Oh, okay. It's the Hawks.
Yeah.
Of course.
So that's gonna hurt down the road because he's a good wing defender and he's a 3-and-D guy who can really help them.
There was also another guy, I think Pero
Antic, but he wasn't injured.
He wasn't injured. That was stupid.
There's a huge issue with the police in the U.S. now. We won't get into that, but that's for the social version of our Ekalavyas podcast.
Yeah. Okay. So Hawks in 4 or 5.
Yeah.
The next matchup we're going to talk about are the LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers with facing up against the Celtics. Sort of an old rivalry, but not the same guys anymore.
Yeah, it's a kind of a throwback, but the Boston is not the same. Boston is not the same Boston that used to go against LeBron's Cavs. I think this is going to be a clean sweep as well. Boston's just doesn't have the talent, and in the playoffs, and you can get away with it for games at a time here and there during the regular season, but in the playoffs it becomes a different animal. You're going to see MVP version of LeBron come out.
Yeah.
You're going to see the beast version of LeBron come out, and I just don't think there's anybody on Boston that can remotely contain him, or like go up one-on-one against him, or just in general just can't really. They just don't have the talent. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
But surprisingly, Boston beat them by like 30 points or so in one of the final games of the regular season. But I'm not sure whether LeBron was playing that game. So.
I think they rested a bunch of players towards the end.
Yeah.
But Isaiah Thomas is fun to watch.
Yeah, for a 5'9" guy,
yeah,
he has a
crazy.
Good skill set, man.
Yeah, and he's exciting. He's a bit of a heat check player. Like in terms of someone really just trying to, as soon as he sees 1 or 2 shots go down, no one else may see the ball for the rest of the quarter. He's just going to keep shooting, but they're going to go in too. So it's just a fun guy to watch, but it's a couple seasons too early.
Yeah.
They're not going to really go anywhere.
Isaiah Thomas was actually interviewed by our student contributor, Adarsh Rao.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I think it was last year. And you can check it out on the Ekalavyas website. So he's generally talking about how it is to be a short guy and generally the road he had to go through, which is quite interesting. So I think it's maybe a clean sweep or Cleveland in 5.
All those short guys have that Napoleonic syndrome, man. They all want to show.
Yeah. They have that sort of they want to prove something.
Yeah, so, they got the ultimate chip on their shoulder of no, you can't do it. You were too short.
Yeah, exactly.
And they'll use that for it'll stay with them because people are still probably calling them too short.
Now the next matchup are the 3rd and 6th seeds, the Chicago Bulls and Milwaukee Bucks. Now Chicago Bulls with a rejuvenated Derrick Rose, and
he looked good in the last few games that he played.
Yeah.
Limited minutes, but he looked decent.
Yeah, I think he got like a 24.8 assist game or something.
Yeah, he only played 18-20 minutes in that game too, so it wasn't an extended time.
There were flashes, but then the Bulls, I think they can beat the Bucks without Rose also. The Bucks have? They have
Greek Freak is there. They have a lot of talent, but it's just it's raw right now still.
Yeah.
Michael Carter-Williams.
He's like a turnover machine.
Yeah.
He's a turnover machine, but.
He's gonna. I think he'll see a big jump from this year to next year working with Kidd.
Yeah.
I think that's gonna be huge for him.
Yeah.
And if you don't see that jump, then he is gonna be what he is. He's not gonna. His style is not gonna change. He's gonna be a high usage, high turnover guy that fills the stat sheet.
Yeah, Brandon Knight also has had a decent season, and they have the Greek freak, of course, like you said, Giannis.
I would have liked to see Jabari Parker play.
Yeah, they have OJ Mayo too. The Bucks.
Yeah. So
they
have talent, but a lot of it's young. Mm-hmm. So this is their first year getting into the playoffs, and they'll learn a lot. Two Syracuse products. A shout out to my hometown, Tyler Ennis and Michael Carter Williams.
Yeah. But the Bulls, the front court is just
too many people.
Yeah. And but of course, Jimmy Butler, All-Star year.
Yeah, he's back now too. He's fresh. He took a couple weeks off because he had an injury.
Yeah.
He'll be ready to go. And then, the usual Pau, Noah.
Yeah.
Taj Gibson. I think he's underrated as all hell. And then the new guy who is Nikola.
Miratek.
Nico. Yeah. So he's killing it lately, man.
Yeah.
Had 20, 25 plus point games in the last month of the season. Really stepped up the scoring a little with Butler being out and Rose being out.
Yeah. And he's not afraid to take a shot. So big shots.
Gotta love the beard too.
Yeah. I was overhearing some commentary. I think Mark Jackson was saying, I think Chris Webber was just wondering whether James Harden and Nikola, they discuss beard products and all that kind of stuff.
They share grooming tips of their beard.
Probably an All-Star weekend. Chicago, I think 4-0.
Yeah, I think that's a sweep.
Yeah.
I think these first round games for the East are really going to be poor, other than the next one that we have. Toronto, the 4 seed, versus Washington, the 5 seed.
This will be a fun matchup. Toronto is Kyle Lowry, the first time All-Star, and the first time All-Star starter, which is rare.
Yeah.
So
it's a great point guard matchup there. It's probably the best point guard matchup of the first round, at least. Wall versus Lowry.
Eastern Conference, yeah.
So it's going to be a fun. I was when I was going through this earlier today, I was trying to figure out who would I choose. I lived in Washington for a few years, so I'm kind of partial to them. I loved going to the games. I used to see LeBron beat them quite a bit back in the day.
Was it the time in Gilbert Arenas?
Yeah, it was when they had their own big three. Gilbert, who was it? Antoine Jackson and Deshaun Stevenson was on the team.
Yeah, Antoine Jameson.
Yeah, Antoine Jameson. Yeah. So it's when they were on there. I used to pay $5 to get like the top of the line, top the seat. But it was fun, man. There was a lot of fun. That playoff atmosphere in those NBA arenas is something out of this world. You can't explain it until you've actually been there. Anyway, back to this game. I don't know who to pick. I'm kind of on the fence here.
Yeah, I don't know. I would probably give the edge to the Raptors. And they seem to have more talent. I don't know.
They have home court. They've been there last year. They kind of had a heartbreaking loss in Game 7 on a final shot by Lowry. Yeah. Washington hasn't been playing well, and honestly, I don't trust their coach that much.
Terry Stotts. No, Portland.
Yeah, so it's Whitman, Randy Whitman.
Yeah.
And I just, the thing is, both Gortat, Toronto doesn't have too many big guys. Both Gortat and Nene, if they play hard, can dominate the series.
Yeah.
The thing with them both is are they focused or are they engaged in the matchup? And it's the playoffs, so you got to imagine they're going to step it up.
Yeah, they have the veteran ball players.
Exactly. I think that's going to help a lot.
And he contributed at least 10 to 15 points, right?
So I think I convinced myself just now that I'm going Washington in 7.
Washington in 7.
Yeah.
That'll be an interesting matchup. It'll probably be... Well, I'll say the Raptors in 7.
All right.
So let's see. That'll probably be the most fun matchup in the first round in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, Paul Pierce is going to be in a lot of Toronto fans' nightmares.
Yeah.
From last year and this year.
Or, I don't know, Kyle Lowry would have probably learned the Canadian national anthem by the end of the series. So we'll see. So that sort of rounds up our prediction for the first round of the NBA playoffs.
So what? We pretty much agreed on all of them on both sides. We both have Golden State. I think we both picked Dallas in an upset there.
You were saying
Houston. I was saying Houston. That's the one we disagree with.
Yeah, I was saying Dallas in an upset.
So
we agreed on the Clippers. Spurs is going to be the Spurs.
Yeah.
And Memphis, of course.
Memphis, yeah. So really all we disagreed on was Houston and Dallas and then Toronto, Washington. The East is a simple one. I think the top 3 seeds are easily going to make it to the next round. I mean, we may have 3 sweeps there.
Yeah. So the only interesting matchup would be Toronto-Washington. So let's see. So that sort of rounds up our podcast for the first round of the playoffs. Do tune in. It's going to be telecast on Sony 6.
5 in the morning. Better adjust everyone's body clocks. That's what I'm going to do. Start going to bed early and waking up early.
Yeah, Sunday morning. So there'll be some interesting matchups. We'll come back to you when the first round is over, before the semi-final round start. Till then, it's Vishnu, Ravi, Shankar, and Himamshu, Dabir signing off.
Thanks for listening, guys.